Hey, what's up, guys? You know you like my videos. Hit that like and subscribe button down there. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eddie Block here with EddieBlockFilms, and welcome to another day in the life of Eddie with Spina Bifida. So I figured I'd start this off. Episode 1 should have been telling you guys about my origins and stuff. But by the way, I'm using my headphones right now and my cell phone. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I just got back from Carlos's house, a friend of mine. He had a plumbing issue last week. Man, I hope I'm not messing up my edit. And I took my snake down there and showed him how to snake his drain. But he just bought this house and they put a cheapy toilet in there. And we didn't run the snake down the main line because I couldn't find the main line. And it was a Sunday. We didn't feel like going to the store to buy a toilet flange seal, or you want to call it a wax ring, whatever you want. But anyways, so I didn't go back down there again and help him snake it. But I had him do all the work. Showed him how to do it because he's a homeowner now. And as soon as I left, his water heater went out. So I think I'll make a sneak attack down there while he's at work tomorrow and just relight his pilot light. Anyways, so let's tell you where I'm from. I was born on August 19th. Yes, today is my birthday. I was telling everybody I was 45, but I just realized I was born in 76, so I'm really only 44. Ooh. And so I saved a year. But I was born at, now I can't remember if it's 11:06 or 11:09 p.m. And I know this thanks to my sister. My sister, I don't know, I was probably, we were living in the 2-story house when I was a kid. So I had to be after I was like 11. And my sister told me that, well, I asked her where my present was, and she told me, you weren't born till 11:06, or maybe it was 11:09, whatever she said. And I was like, so? She's like, well, it's not your birthday yet. You shouldn't get your birthday presents until 11:06. So I waited and I waited and I waited, and I finally ran out to her like, hey, it's 11:06 p.m. Where's my present? And she said, I didn't say I had a present for you. I just said if you were going to get presents, it shouldn't be till 11:06. So that was one birthday. But, I'm not mad at her. It was, we were kids. And to be honest with you, well, let's talk about it. So, sorry about shaky. I'm using my cell phone again. I'm tired. But the reason I don't mind it and, give them, my brother and sister, some respect is the day I was born, I was immediately flown to Travis Air Force Base. I had something like 7 operations the first couple days of my life. I was born with this thing called Spina Bifida. What that is where your back, your spine is completely out of your body, and your nerves are wrapped in a tight little bundle. So the nerves aren't working, so I can't feel my legs. I can feel from my knee down to my knee, but once my knee down to my feet, I can't feel. And for some reason, though, I can feel my bottom of my left foot. Doesn't make sense, but that's how it is. And sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here. So yeah, I was born with Spina Bifida. That was one of the things. I was born with scoliosis, where your back is really curved. In fact, the first time I had a spinal fusion, I had to wait till I was 14 when your growing stops or slows down. And I went in the hospital with it was 80 or 90 degree curve. All I know, it was big. And the doctor that I had as a child, Dr. King, awesome man. Unfortunately, he passed away. But Dr. King was one of the top orthopedic surgeons for children. He, I think I was like one of the first 100 people to get a spinal fusion in the U.S. Overseas it was happening a lot. And so yeah, I had that. But I went from like a 90 degree curvature to like a 40 some odd degree. I think they told me they measured me, because they measure your arm length, because apparently you're supposed to be as tall as your wingspan is. you know, we're not birds, but so there's a piece of knowledge for you. And they measure me, and you're gonna grow 2 inches tonight. I guess I did. How long was that surgery? I think it was like 12 to 16 hours, because back then they had to do a whole lot different stuff. That wasn't a fun surgery, by the way. You know, now I've had them now, and it's not as bad at all. But back in those days, they need to make sure when they're cutting around your nerves, because all my nerves are wrapped in a bundle around my spine, and that's where they're working. They don't want to cut off anything else that was working. So they electrocute you, because they can't keep you awake and say, hey, can you move your fingers and your toes? Because I can't move my toes anyways. And so they have this thing where I think they still do it. It's better now. But I showed up at LA Children's Hospital for, I think it was 40 minutes on each item I had to be electrocuted, or 20 minutes. So I'm sitting there, and she's like, watch, your toe's gonna move. And I was like, lady, my toe can't move. All of a sudden I get, you know, like I'm in the electric chair, and there goes my toe like this. And I was like, hey, I've never seen that move before. And then it was really crazy, you know. I was 14. The night before, my mom had to go to work, because I had a single mom, because my dad died when I was 6 from Agent Orange exposure. And I guess I'm supposed to be starting from the beginning, but you know what? I guess it's going to be a long one. So, I'm 14 years old. My parents dropped me off. My stepdad, I don't know if he wasn't even my stepdad back then. He was just my mom's boyfriend. And my mom dropped me off at the hospital because they had to get back to work. They said, don't worry, we'll be here in the morning for your surgery. Or, I think I had to go through 2 days of testing. That's what it was. I had to go through 2 days of testing. So, they dropped me off at the hospital with the big old Lego set and everything I wanted, you know. It was my mom for 2 days. You know, we went to Disneyland, and then we went to Universal Studios. And back then, E.T. was the big thing. I haven't been to Universal Studios for a long time, so I don't know if they still have the E.T. where you get to ride the bike. But my mom, being the person that she was and knew I loved E.T., went to the people at Universal Studios and said, hey, my son's about to have a 16-hour back surgery tomorrow. He's one of the first people in the United States to have it. He's only 14. He has a 50-50 chance of living. He wants to ride E.T. So guess who got to ride the bike with E.T. And yeah, my mom always did that kind of stuff for me. And that's one of the things that, you know, gave a rough relationship between my brother and sister and I. And then my mom got to be in 2001 A Space Odyssey 2, because they're like, well, her son might die tomorrow, let's make her feel good too. Hey, you know what, can't get mad at the lady for doing stuff like that. But anyway, so they dropped me off at the hospital. They stayed with me for most of the day, because I had to be there early in the morning. And I go in for this electrical testing, and I tell you what, that's the worst stuff you can have. You're just sitting there getting electrocuted for hours on end. Not fun. Not fun at all. So I don't have to go to that dang taser test with the police department, because I've already done it. Then I think my parents were there for that, but she couldn't be in the room, so I was stuck there. And they left, so they waited till after traffic, because they had to drive from LA to Lompoc. I was staying at the LA Children's Hospital, and about 7 o'clock, a nurse came in and said, hey, we got to give you your IV and your enema. Not fun things. The problem is that I had done a lot of testing that day, and I wasn't allowed to eat anything. And when I can't eat or drink, my veins, your veins shrink and stuff like that. It makes it really hard to put an IV. Well, also, I've had so many operations that my veins are tore up. I'm like a person who does drugs a lot. You know how they got to start finding new places to shoot up? They have to do this with me. So this nurse poked me about I don't know. Let's see. You can see some of the scars in the middle there. Those are from that nurse. She poked me over and over again. And then when that hand didn't work, then you can kind of see all those scars. She poked me over and over again in that hand. And one of the hands, I forget which one, she actually broke the needle off in my hand. 7 or 6 years, no, let's see, 14 years old, in the hospital alone. Wasn't fun. Finally she stopped and said, you know what, let me go find the IV nurse. And I'm like, why don't you find an IV nurse in the first place, chick? So she does the enema, and you know, that goes okay, I guess, you know, as good as it could. And finally the IV nurse shows up, and as soon as she shows up, I'm in my bed in the corner like, you know, get the hell away from me. Excuse my language if you find that offensive. And she's like, don't worry, honey, I'm an IV nurse, I can handle this. And I was like, yeah, I heard that from the other lady too. She's like, no, sweetheart, I am really an IV nurse. She got it on the first try. I don't know if it was just luck or what. And she's like, baby, you always got to get an IV nurse. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. So the next morning, my mom and actually my brother and his, I don't know if it was his wife then or not, and my stepdad show up for the big surgery. And I had a total of 20 surgeons working on me. Because back then, they did it differently than they do now. They actually had to go through my side. So I have a scar that runs all the way across my belly and all the way up my back, almost to my armpit. And what they had to do then is they had to remove my kid. Well, I don't know what all they had to remove, but they had to remove a whole bunch of organs, and it was just doctor after doctor. I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna move your stomach. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. So it was pretty traumatic. So I don't remember too much of it. All I remember is every time a doctor came in, I said, "Are you gonna stick an NG tube in me?" If you don't know what an NG tube is, basically they take, it's when I get bowel obstructions, they take a tube and it goes up your nose and it scratches the whole way up, and then it's got to curve down and come back down and go down your throat into your stomach, scratching the whole way. I'll take the dentist, I'll take shots, I'll take the electrocution, just don't stick that tube down my nose. And every doctor said, oh no, we're not going to stick the tube down your nose. And I'm pretty sure my mom was in the background saying. So finally the next day later on I had the big surgery. And I wake up. Not only did I have a tube in my nose, I had a catheter which goes up your special place. And then I had a chest tube right here so I could breathe. And back then they hadn't, the process wasn't as well as they do it now. So I could not move at all. They would not let you move at all until you had a full, well, first I could move a little bit because they put a full body cast on me. But then they took it off to measure me for the brace, and they left it off. So what they did is they kept me, it was in a cage. Every hour the nurse would come in and she'd put the cage on over my face, and she'd screw it all down, and then this bed would go bloop, flip me over. Pain in the butt, because every time, either my catheter or this tube right here, they would move it, and I'd be like, please be careful with those tubes, and they moved it. Painful. So I was actually because of this, I was in the hospital for 2 whole weeks. My mom had to go back and forth because, like I said, she was a single mom, and she had to do, work. She had to work to pay for my hospital bills, to pay for my sister's bills, to pay for my brother. Actually, my brother had graduated, or my brother moved out already by then. But I digress. So I remember, like, this was painful, like, extremely painful. They put in 14 screws in my back, I believe. That little morphine button was just like, doo, doo. It was really painful. And the fact that when they would roll you over nonstop every hour, and they do this because they say you'll get pneumonia if you don't do it. And then I had to blow in and make the balls go up, and Not fun. Especially when you're 14 and your parents are at work. I just remember waking up and just screaming for my mom. I was in so much pain. And the nurse comes running in, and I was like, you need to call my mom. And she's like, baby, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, I don't care. You need to call my mom. I want my mom, you know, just a kid. And she wouldn't do it. And I'm like, my mom said you can call her any time of night. And she's like, your mom has to go to work in the morning. Let's not bother her. And she didn't. Which was probably good. I didn't need to bother my mom just because I was freaking out and in pain. And that, you know, happened quite a few times. Finally, I got the back brace on, and they had me start walking around. So I got to the hospital after like 2 weeks. And that was awful. I had to wear a back brace 24 hours a day. In the summertime. And Lompoc, you know, summertime, 80 degrees, no problem. Only this year, we had the hottest heat wave in a long time. So it was like 100 degrees. And I was going to Cabrillo High School, you know, and just, you know, not fun. Not fun. But that was that surgery, and I know I skipped over a lot. I was supposed to start from the beginning. So let's go back to the beginning. So I have my spina bifida, my scoliosis. Then when I was born, my right leg is a lot worse than my left. My mother tells me that my right leg was all the way up here and attached to my chest. So they had to cut it off and take it down. And I was born with a club foot on my right foot. I think I have club feet on both foot, actually, to be honest with you. But the right is a lot worse. The next thing is really sucky and shitty. I can say that. Because I was born without an anus. So immediately what they had to do was cut me open and give me what's called a colostomy bag. And that's, you know, this bag that I'm sure you can use your imagination. And yeah, so then after, I don't know if they did that at Travis or at Vandenberg, but I know that I was flown all the way to Travis Air Force Base on a private jet, which my parents couldn't go on. Which kind of sucked for them, because think about it, your child was just born, and now you're having to drive 5 hours or 6 hours to Travis Air Force Base in the middle of the night, and not knowing what's going on with your kid. The way I heard it is, I was given a couple hours when I was born. Then I was given like a day. Then I was given a week. Well, guess what? I'm 44 today. I beat all the odds. My dad died from his Agent Orange exposure at 41 and a half, almost 42. So I beat Dad. Sorry, Dad. And, you know, we're pretty sure, almost 99.9% sure that I'm like this because of my dad's exposure to Agent Orange. Holy jeez, I'm at 18 minutes already. Sorry, guys, if this is boring, just, what do you call it? Skip ahead, fast forward. So the reason why also I don't, you know, I've had a bad relationship. Well, my sister and I have a great relationship. My brother and I, But I was interviewing my sister one time, and all she could talk about was, I got everything, and they got nothing. Oh, you know, my brother gets everything. She said, for some reason, she kept bringing up Lucky Charms. I had Lucky Charms cereal, and she had to have grape nuts. And then she brought up one time when she had this scooter. It was called a Spree. And I crashed it. Yeah, I remember that. I wanted to drive it, and she said, don't you dare touch my scooter. And so one day when, I think she was at school, or I don't know where the heck she was. Oh, she was working with my mom. Well, I took that bad boy for a ride in the garage, and, I mean, in the backyard, and ran it right into a fence. You know, I'm like, let's see, she was 16, so that means I was not 8. I was 8 years old when that happened. And she brought that up in the interview. And so, the jerk comedian in me, I came home, I went on Amazon, and I ordered 4 boxes of Lucky Charms. Sent it to my sister's house. Didn't say a word. Didn't tell her they were coming. Then 2 days arrived you can't find those scooters anymore, but I found a picture of it. So then a couple of days later, a picture of a scooter arrived at her house. And I never got a call from her. I'm like, what the heck? You know, that was a good joke. So a month later, I saw her, and I was like, hey, how'd you like the Lucky Charms? And she's like, that was you? You asshole. I was wondering who sent me the Lucky Charms. I was like, well, you said you always bitched that I got the Lucky Charms and you didn't, so I sent her some Lucky Charms. But anyway, so yeah, those are some of the birth defects that I have. As you can imagine, because I was born without an anus, I have trouble going to the bathroom. They did eventually build me an anus. But the problem is, because they built it, you know, they can't make it work. I won't go into detail. They couldn't make it work, but it was just a way so they could get rid of the colostomy bag. And my mom, I heard stories. The doctor wouldn't do it. He wouldn't give me a colostomy, or reverse the colostomy is what it's called. And she told me, or I heard through the grapevine, that it was because he said I would never live past a couple years old. I would die within a couple years, so why waste my time? Or I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, so he wasn't going to waste his time. Which is funny, because when I was 12 years old, I was having surgery. They did heel cord lengthenings on both my feet, and I was there in the hospital. It might have been when I was 7 or 6, because I also had it right before my dad died. I had both done too. So it's either 6 or 11. And my mom's sitting there with me, and I'm eating my Jello pudding, all happy, because that was the great thing about being in the hospital. I got my Jello pudding, and back then was when they still had the Jello pudding pops. Oh, those are my favorite. I had those a lot. You know, you get, and this may sound bad, but I got spoiled in the hospital. In Lompoc Hospital, one of my mom's best friends worked there, Annie Hairhoser, and she would cook, when I was in the hospital, she cooked me whatever the heck I wanted. The doctors didn't write the food order, she wrote the food order. I mean, I had special meals, because I was her little, I don't know, she took care of me for the food, so I always got good food in there. And I'm a block. Blocks are known for loving beautiful women, and so I would always use my disability. Oh, nurse, my mom's gone. I don't feel good, and you know, get a hug from the nurse, and always made me feel better. So yeah, even at 11 years old and 6 years old, I would play those games. But yeah. So, anyways, back to being in the hospital. They go paging Doctor blah blah blah. I don't remember his name. And my mom just got this look in her face. And then you hear the same doctor's name again, and she jumped up and she's like, I'll be back. Now, we called my mom the Pitbull. You didn't piss off my mom. She would go to jail. You know. So, she takes off. I don't know how much longer it was, but she finally comes back, dragging this guy in a lab coat. And I'm like, okay, well, who's this doctor? And the minute she brings him in, she stops at the foot of my bed, and she starts pointing at the cast on my leg. She's like, don't you ever! And I'm like, uh-oh, it's gonna be one of those things. And she's like, don't you ever! You blah blah blah. You know, all kinds of foul language. So don't you ever tell a mother that their son will never live long enough, and you won't do a gosh darn surgery. And you know, I'm like, oh, must be that doctor. So she cussed him out for a good 10 minutes until security finally showed up. And I just remember, the most words I remember is she just kept saying, look at him! He can walk! He can walk! Because I guess that's one of the doctor's defense, was saying I would never walk. So yeah, that was pretty darn interesting. And so yeah, those are some of the birth defects I have. I used to not be able to control my bladder, but I can now. So I don't know what the deal with that is. Although every time I go to Kaiser and see the urologist now, they want to, how many times a day do you cath? And I'm like, I don't cath. And they're like, you have spina bifida, you're supposed to cath every day. I'm like, the day you start making me cath is the day I take a gun and shoot myself in the head. Because after you have as many operations as I do, every time they stick a catheter inside of you, it scratches. and that leaves scar tissue. And so now I have so much scar tissue built up that every time they try and stick the catheter up now, they can't do it. And luckily, they know to wait until I'm asleep and finally do it then, because they actually have to use a camera, and it's freaking painful. I did have a surgery where they cut all the scar tissue out, but you know what that does? Creates more scar tissue. So, anyways, the day they tell me I gotta start cathetering every day is the day you're no longer gonna see Eddie. I will blow up from the urine inside of me before you stick a catheter up in me when I'm awake. So, that's another issue that I deal with. But luckily, I have no trouble going I have no trouble going to the bathroom. Every day now, I notice I can move less and less. Recently, the doctors told me I got about a year left being able to walk with my cane. And after that, I'm pretty much stuck in a wheelchair. So that's kind of hard for me. I was a plumber, if you didn't know that. And I did that because I was always taught, work your butt off. Get ahead in life. That's what you gotta do. You don't let anything bring you down. So that's a life lesson for you guys. Don't let anything ever bring you down. If somebody tells you you can't do something, freaking do it. You know, I had a boss when I was up in Anchorage and I was a plumber, and he said, you know why I tell you, you know how I get you to work when you don't want to do a job? I was like, how's that? He's like, I tell you, you can't do it. And then you do it just to prove me wrong. And I was like, oh, you got me. Sorry guys, this is a long video, but you know what? It's facts. It's the truth. It's the real Eddie. What else do I need to tell you about my disability? I guess that's pretty much it. Funny story. At Kaiser, I was gonna, before one of my spinal surgeries, they had to do this test where they shoot a solution into your spinal nerve column, and it's supposed to go through your veins, and it's a colored dye so they can see where everything goes. And it's supposed to be like a 10-minute procedure. After like an hour and a half and this guy poking me and poking me and poking me, I finally say, you know, I'm really in a lot of pain here. What's going on? And he's like, well, every time I put this dye in your back and I take the x-ray, it's just in a ball. And I just start shaking my head. I'm like, dude, I have spina bifida. Yeah, what does that mean? I was like, it means all my nerves are wrapped up in a ball around my back. That's all my doctor wanted to see, so he knows where he's got to be careful to put these screws. But you know what, I'll put up... No, I'm tired. I'm just going to make this video and go. So, yeah. That was interesting. Another interesting part is when you show up in a hospital room, an emergency room, and the nurse asks you how long you've had spinal bifida. And I looked at her, and I'm like, you mean my birth defect? And she's like, yeah, how long have you had spinal bifida? I'm like, my birth defect. She's like, yes, I need to know how long you've had it. I said, it's my birth defect. And she's like, so you were born with it? I'm like, that's what a birth defect means. Another funny time was I was in Anchorage, and the doctor walks up to me, and he's like, I'm going to ask you a stupid question. You know, I'm there, my shirt's off, and he's like, have you ever had any operations before? And I look at the scars on my stomach, and I'm like, no, I just like cutting myself. He's like, I told you it was a stupid question, but I have to ask it. I'm like, okay, whatever. So yeah, but speaking of me getting worse, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going through a separation right now, and my lawyer sent off the documents to sign to just end it, and hopefully we can both move on our own and move in new directions. I wish the best for her, but since I'm gonna be back fully in a wheelchair in a year or less, I don't think so. I always prove them wrong, so I think it'll be longer. But the beast right here, my Saint Bernard, I love this guy to death. I love all my dogs, but there's something really special about him. Me and him have a huge bond, and I rescued him. None of my dogs I bought except for paying the pound money, or they just showed up in my house. And I had to drive to Carlos's, which is a little over 2 hours each way. And I was talking to my therapist, and I talked to a couple people about wanting to get a new puppy and get a Saint Bernard, make him a service dog for when I do get stuck in my wheelchair. And, you know, if you don't know, I go to the veterans home quite a bit, and I go see the veterans. So I wanted to make it also a service animal that I could take to hospitals, visit sick veterans, or sick children, or just sick people in the hospital. You know, have a big old huge Saint Bernard come up and just slobber in your face. He doesn't slobber as much as he's supposed to, but anyways. So I looked up Saint Bernards. And I'm like, I don't like buying dogs. I really don't. But I think I really want a Saint Bernard for this. And I found one. He's cute as hell. Well, I found a girl first. Her name was Sydney. But after I looked into it further, she's already been adopted or bought, whatever you want to call it. So then I found Simba. He's cool as hell too. He's really cute. But he's $3,400. And I'm just like, man, that's a lot of money for a freaking dog. But with what I'm going to do with this dog, you know, and I figure I'll edit videos with them every day, and, you know, the dog will be its own personality. He or she will be going out and visiting sick people, you know, making people's day. And I found a place where they'll actually make doll stuffed animals looking just like your dog. So when we leave, we could give that sick person a stuffed animal that looks just like the dog they were just petting. So, I'm, you know, today my therapist, I was talking with her, and she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. It'd be really good for you. It'd be very uplifting for you. So, I thought about it, and I kept looking at the picture and looking at the picture, and I was like, you know, I don't got $3,400 to waste on a dog. Not waste, but I don't even have $3,400 to buy it anyways. So, I decided I'm going to start putting away money, and I'm going to ask them if I can have, you know, give them a deposit and maybe have first pick of their next litter. I think that's better. Plus, it gives me more time with Jackie. I think if a puppy comes into our life right now, then I might be giving too much attention to the puppy and not taking care of the beast. And that's my big boy. You don't mess with my big boy. I put him in a couple of my films too. So that's what I'm thinking about that. But it's my birthday, and I've never had a good birthday. I mean, I probably have. You only remember the bad stuff, right? So, you know, the day I was born wasn't exactly a good birthday. And I don't know, just every birthday seems to go wrong. And especially started wrong on the way home tonight from Carlos's house. First off, I left late. The toilet took longer. And then a fire broke out on 41 between 46 and 33. So I had to go all the way down to, I don't know, the middle of nowhere, and then drive back up to 41 and 33. That was a pain in the butt. So then I got home an hour later than I wanted to, which is even way later because I normally feed these brats at 6. So they weren't too happy with me. So like I said, my birthday's starting off bad already. I'm in pain, so it's Facebook. Everybody says happy birthday to you on there. So I'm going to tell you right now, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. But tomorrow I'm going to go dark. Birthdays aren't good for me, so I'm just going to kind of hang out at home alone. Actually, you know, I'm going to go thrift store shopping. Carlos's water heater stopped working. And that makes me feel bad. You know, I guess, you know, it might be a coincidence. But I also ran the water for like 20 minutes to make sure that the clog was cleared, because it was his main line. And so I think I may have overheated his water heater and set off the sensor that trips the sensor that turned off the pilot. It's a possibility. Or it just could have been a coincidence. But it wasn't any wind, so at least I don't think there was. So when he's at work tomorrow, I have a doctor's appointment at like 9. After that, I'll drive over there real quick, fix his water heater, because it's just, you know, taking a lighter and lighting it. And then I'll go thrift store shopping in a Atascadero. They gotta have good stuff over there. Then I'm gonna come home and just, I'm gonna go dark though. I'm gonna turn off Facebook. I'm not gonna answer phone calls. The only person I'll talk to is the person I talk to every day, and that's my stepdad. And we do that through FaceTime. Ever since my mom died, I've become his, I don't know, I'm guessing you can call him, I'm his best friend now. We speak every day for at least an hour. And when my phone broke a couple years back, he had to FaceTime me, and I taught him how to FaceTime for the first time. And so then when my phone came in, my replacement phone, he said, "Hey Eddie," well, he calls me Hendrik. That's my first name. It's like, Hendrik, I really like this FaceTime thing because I get to see you every day. Do you mind if we continue the FaceTime? So now that's what we do. Every day we FaceTime. And that's what we're going to do every day. He's 85 now. 85 years old and a veteran. So yeah. Speaking of that, I got a new sticker coming in for the back window of my truck. It's got the blue line, it's got the red line, it's got the green line, and they say the saying is wrong. It says some give all, or some, you know the saying, but they use give instead of gave. That's the only problem with it, but I don't care. Everybody gets the point. So I'm gonna have a new thing on my back truck window. But like I said, I'm pretty sure. I'm not trying to sound all high and mighty, but it's Facebook. It tells you when to say happy birthday to everybody. So I'm sure there'll be a lot tomorrow or today. So thank you if you're saying happy birthday to me. If I don't respond, it's just I'm going dark for my birthday. I'm going to turn off Facebook, turn off Instagram. Well, I never use it anyways. Not even look at YouTube. I'm going to upload these videos and then I'm done. So if you don't hear from me tomorrow, I'm not being a jerk. I'm just trying to make my birthday have the least possible bad consequences, I guess. I don't know. My birthday just, they're always pain in the butts. So, good night, everybody. Wish me well with my doctor appointment tomorrow. I got a new doctor at Kaiser. The other one wasn't taking good enough care of me. If you don't know, I'm in a lot of pain. And I mean a lot of pain. They used to give me 100 oxycodone a month, 100 morphine a month, and 100 Valium a month. And that meant I could take 2 of each every 4 hours. Can you believe that stuff? And so I left Kaiser because of it, because they're giving me too much pain meds. But now I need them again. I probably went to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning last night, and I was up at 8. That's about normal. I get about 4 hours of sleep. So that's not good. That's why my eyes are always bagged over, and I always look tired, and I drink Bang energy drinks. I can't sleep. If it's too hot, I can't sleep. That's why I have my air conditioner running all the time. I don't know. Just I even tried buying one of those beds that goes. That's not doing the trick either. Well, it was, but I'm a giver. We bought the bed. I'm still paying on it on credit from, Synchrony Bank or whatever. And we bought one of those beds that go up and down. Well, Angela couldn't sleep if I had the bed in a position so I could sleep. And instead of having her not sleeping all night and grumpy because she's really, if she doesn't get her 8 hours of sleep, yeah. So I instead would not be able to sleep on the bed I just bought for like $2,000 so she could sleep. And now I just got to plug the bad boy back in and start using it the way it should. Maybe that'll help me sleep. I don't know. We'll find out. Alright guys, so thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Whoever sends them. I haven't got them yet. I think I've gotten a couple, but I'm not going to look at Facebook today. Yeah. Birthdays are not good for me. So, if you see me driving around town or you see my truck, it's not hard to figure out which one's mine. It's got the scooter on the back. Just honk your horn. But, just let me be today. I'll be fine. I got 5 dogs to take care of me. And yeah. Alright, guys. That's it for today. Oh, wait. I should tell. There's something I was going to tell. Oh, well. 40 minutes is long enough. Sorry to bore you guys. I promise the next one, I'll try and keep the next one under 10 minutes from now on. Alright. Don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe, and the ding! Because then as soon as I hit 1,000 people, then I can do a lot more things with YouTube. Alright, guys. God bless you. Good night.